Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome to the very first instant race reaction of the season for the 2019 Australian Grand Prix. You're joining myself, Arav, and my friend Callum here today to react to that Australian Grand Prix. Literally, after the race, the cars are parked up, we've not even talked about it at all. So Cal, what you make of it? I thought it was a pretty damn decent one for Melbourne as an opening round, really.
That is one of the better opening rounds of the season. If you're casting your minds back to the most recent, or the more recent Australian Grand Prix, that had some juicy bit of action in it. It was almost like a qualifying session by the end of it. And I did slate this new fastest lap rule, but I actually really enjoyed it because with like a race, you feel like they should be pushing throughout the entire race, but at least they were crossing the line, getting the checkered flag, and they were pushing like crazy, which I thought added a great dimension to a cracker of an opening round.
Yeah, no, the ending where Bottas was saying, I want that full 26 points, like straight away, it was great to see drivers who are in the lead as well thinking about that one extra point. That might make the difference there. Verstappen said it then, and then Bottas on the second last lap. It's great to see them pushing, and that midfield fight was crazy from P7 in one camera shot nearly all the way down to Gasly in P11 was awesome to see. So as Melbourne races go, I think that was also one of the best ones we've seen in a long while. I think like a lot of points in that race gave us little insights into how the season might play out. The dynamic of Mercedes now. I mean, let's just talk about Bottas. Straight away, the win. I mean, I certainly wrote him off in the podcast we did last week. I don't know, Callum, did he see that coming at all from Valtteri Bottas?
That was dominant from Bottas. Like, that beard is giving him some serious pace. Like, that was an incredible race. That's easily his best race of his career, without a doubt. And he outshone the five-time world champion that is Hamilton. And Hamilton's maybe got this little bit of bad luck in Albert Park. He always comes, that's 3 second places in a row off the top of my head. It's always been Vettel that's taken it, but this time with Bottas, 22 seconds. And obviously we can't really judge the gaps too much because we were doing a bit of, let's slow down so we can get the fastest lap and save a bit of tyres, save a bit of engine modes. But that was something else from Bottas, and especially not only was the fact that we got a major shock that Ferrari are the third fastest team. We've got Hamilton not even being the fastest driver in Mercedes in the opening round of the season. Like, I can't wrap my head around how good of a performance that was from Bottas. And to say this is a driver that didn't get a single race win in 2018.
Yeah, his last win was Abu Dhabi 2017. So literally the entirety of the season, 18, he's basically forgotten about it. It's not in his memory anymore. And he just goes to 2019, bang, race win. Yeah, I don't know. That beard definitely maybe added a few tenths per lap, I think. Because I was tweeting out, I beg a journo asks him, so did the beard make a difference today? Because yeah, he was a different man. I mean, mega star. I mean, once again, Hamilton. We've seen it in the past. Sometimes, especially what was it 2017 and 2016, he was always shocking at starts. 2018, he sort of sorted it out a little bit. But really poor start, and that basically was the nail in the coffin straight away because Bottas pulled away. Of course, Hamilton kind of fended off Vettel. They pit early for that reason. So, I don't know, like you said, the gap may not be completely representative, but Bottas still did a mega job controlling that thing. And so, the dynamic of this season might be interesting. I really hope Bottas can give Hamilton that fight. We'll have to see. Obviously, we've talked about it. Melbourne is a very, big span in the works. We said that exact phrase in the podcast last week about, previewing this race. So, at the same time, Ferrari, Vettel had some issue, I guess, at the very end of the race because Leclerc was catching him at a rate of knots. Eventually, Leclerc was asked to stop him, which we'll get into in a sec. Let's just talk about Verstappen, though. Third place, Honda podium. The first Honda-powered podium since they returned to the sport. Absolutely awesome work. Verstappen did an on-track overtake on Vettel, which I think is very impressive.
That's what's shocking, and almost it does. Obviously, we're not entirely sure when Vettel did get his issues, and because obviously he was a solid 7/10 slower than Verstappen and Leclerc towards the end of the Grand Prix. But when Verstappen overtook Vettel, not only is that a big spanner in the works when it comes to the fact that Red Bull are looking like the second fastest team, bearing in mind Ferrari came out of winter testing, looked like they could dominate this season. We've also got the fact that we actually saw an on-track overtake in the top 6 for an actual track position. Like, it's not like with pit stops involved. I mean, there was I think a 10 or 11 lap delta in the amount of laps that Vettel had already put on his tyres versus Verstappen, which would have made quite a big difference. But that's what got me excited the most. We actually saw an on-track overtake, and this race in itself proves that these rule changes in terms of the aerodynamics of the cars is really going to help the overtaking, because not only do we see, even though we didn't see as many overtakes as probably would have liked, for example, we had Gasly stuck behind Kvyat towards the end of the race and he was really struggling, or Giovinazzi, we'll probably mention him a little bit later, doing an incredible job to defend from Lando Norris. But it bodes very well when we go to the likes of Bahrain, where it's going to be an absolute overtake fest, and I can't wait for it already. But yeah, just going back to Verstappen, that's an incredible result for Red Bull, incredible result for Honda. It's slightly undermined by the fact that Gasly had such a poor weekend. Obviously, a mistake to not send him out in for a second run in Q1, which was just a little bit unfortunate with the delta of the track just rapidly improving. But I think if you're Verstappen, you can be quietly confident, and he will be on the top step of that podium at some point during this season. But when? Only time will tell.
Yeah, no, he was very, very happy with that. I mean, in the interview straight after the race, said, make an on-track overtake and be attacking Mercedes cars. That it can only go up from there, hopefully, in terms of Honda development and Red Bull development. You know how Red Bull can be good at developing in season there to try and catch up the rivals. So that's going to be intriguing. And yeah, in terms of the overtaking show, Grosjean, he retired, unfortunately, another disaster race for Haas with the wheel off. It was really a dreary moment. Again, another year, another wheel issue for Haas. But even Grosjean was saying in the interviews, even downbeat, he said the following was seeming to be a bit easy. He did say the tyres, though, still overheated in dirty air, but the following seemed to be a little bit easier on the front end, with the aero-wise. So, yeah, I think at tracks that are not Melbourne, which obviously we've definitely confirmed in the past is not the best to overtake, for what we've seen at Melbourne, I think that's a very good sign for this season. But as we go down the order, Ferrari then, what is there to really say, really? Just... they have a lot of homework to do. You can bet there's going to be a lot of late nights in Maranello now after this weekend there. Leclerc was catching Vettel after the issue. They held him up. That's the only major debate for me with Ferrari this race. Otherwise, there's not much else to say. But, do you think Leclerc should have been allowed to overtake? Because that's 2 more points for Leclerc. Or they could have pit him because he had the pit stop gap to the next car and he could have got 1 extra point for a fastest lap. I don't know.
That's what I didn't really understand about Ferrari, and I think out of the top 3 teams, Ferrari were the ones that really didn't pay attention to that new rule. Mercedes and Red Bull had set up their races, and they discussed it in the pre-briefing before the race to go, yes, if we've got this certain scenario, like Bottas said on the radio, can I either A, pit, or just B, just push as hard as I can, because I do want that extra point. But it did look like Ferrari just kind of brushed it to one side, wasn't really that bothered, and just wanted to bring it to the end of the Grand Prix. And it doesn't really make much sense. I mean, obviously it is only 1 point, but it could help in the long run. Obviously Leclerc not having the best opening round of the season. Obviously no. he did go off at turn 1, which is only a slight mistake, but as Martin Brundle said, you can't be making those sort of mistakes in the top team. But it is his first weekend with Ferrari.
I mean, Verstappen
still getting used to everything. Exactly, and Verstappen's been in his team for now 3 years, so we can't undermine Leclerc. It was still solid. He still brought it home in 5th position, but it is very much shown that Vettel has got the, I don't know what the word is, like priority. Yeah, the priority, I think, is probably the right word to say.
Yeah, it's still obviously numero 1. Leclerc has to kind of earn that in a way. Even Leclerc said that in the press conference, earlier on before the Grand Prix. I think the need a 1 and 2 driver. It's just up to me to make sure I'm the number 1 throughout the season. So we'll see about that.
Very mature, that statement.
Yeah,
very
that is. Mature head on young shoulders, I think, very much for Leclerc. Yeah. But away from that then, the top 5, Magnussen, best of the rest. Very, very solid job there for Haas. And I've got to say, I said it, kind of half expected it, because Haas, obviously, I think, for me, this season they will have that up and down season they had like last year. And last year they were quick at Australia. They would have had a great result if it weren't for 2 wheel issues. This year they brought it down to 1. Maybe in 2020 they're going to have no wheel issues. Maybe. So, I mean, Magnus done a very quiet race, so is there much else to say? Just a very solid job for K-Mag, and once again, maybe being the team leader like he was last year in a way.
You know what was interesting is I watched the Haas versus Renault episode of the Netflix series, and it really brought forward that rivalry, and it's carried on straight away into 2019, Renault versus Haas, and also Magnussen versus Hulkenberg. It was they had a little bit of a scrap on track. They were pushing each other throughout the entire race, but an incredible weekend from K-Mag to bring it home in 6th position. Like that is some solid points, basically making up a bit of redemption from last year. But it is again undermined by a wheel issue, and to be fair, I think Grosjean and Haas are very lucky that wasn't more of a serious incident, because that wheel, yeah, it took quite a while. I mean, the fail-safe systems actually worked quite well to keep that wheel on, and it was weird that Haas didn't pick it up earlier. But they were also very lucky that happened in the slowest corner on the track, which is the penultimate corner.
Oh my God,
what about turn 12?
if it
that
happened,
could have been a monster
chicane.
of a crash, absolute
Oh
monster of a. So they were very kind of lucky to. I don't know whether they could potentially get fined. We never know, because they might just. They could put it down to a wheel nut failure versus a pit stop, incorrectly done pit stop. So I think that's up to the stewards and how they want to do it, because it is, you know, it is an incident that has resulted from an unsafe release, if you would say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
but obviously Haas can argue and say, yeah, we sent out that car with full confidence that the wheel was attached. But other than that, you've got to give it to Haas. They have, off the back of a winter testing, which wasn't the smoothest, they have really resumed from where they left off, and they have proved that they are the best of the rest of an incredibly close midfield.
Yeah, well,
and that opening race showed it.
Because we had, obviously, Hülkenberg, Raikkonen, Lance Stroll, and Kvyat all in one shot. Gasly following behind. That was a mega close pack. Renault, let's quickly go through and rattle off and finish this off with this race reaction. Renault, tail two halves. Ricciardo, oh my God, wow. I did a last question mark challenge with him. I didn't think he was actually going to be last by the time we got to end of lap 1. Oh, I mean, can you get any luck? It's bad luck.
I know,
continuing.
that was literally one of the unluckiest things, and I swear we've seen cars go on that grass before and it just not happened. Maybe just because of the bigger front wings and the angle that he hit it. That was so unlucky, because he actually had a good start. That was the reason why he was in that position, and he was going to steam up the inside. But fair play to him for getting it slowed down, because I winced when both of his front tyres locked up. I thought he was creaming into a few cars there, so he did incredibly well. And it was a shame that he really didn't, like, one of the first times at Albert Park that we haven't had a safety car, not even a virtual safety car. So it was like the stewards did an incredible job to clean up all that debris so quickly. Because then Ricciardo was sat at the back just kind of racing around for 30 laps until the team decided to retire the car just to have a new gearbox for next race and save the strain on the engine parts. But also with Hülkenberg, he had a very solid race as well. He had a very good start, starting outside the top 10, which I think Renault was slightly disappointed in. Starting outside the top 10, but yeah, an incredible start, picking up 3 positions, and again showing that they are well in the hunt to try and get that P4 in the Constructors' Championship. Yeah,
and then let's talk about Alfa Romeo. Kimi doing a very, very solid job, I think, chasing after Hülkenberg right at the end there, and then Gio, you mentioned it earlier, Cal, parking Italy, basically, to try and stop Lando Norris. That was a real trolley train there, so, you know, the Italians know how to slow down a pack. So Gio tried his best, didn't work out in the end with that strategy, but I think Alfa Romeo can't be too disheartened by that. You know, they had, you know, a solid qualifying, I guess, with Kimi, and I guess there's just more to come, really, hopefully, from them as a team. They improved a lot last year over the course of the season. I hope they can do the same again with Raikkonen, but, I mean, not much else really to say about Alfa Romeo. And then let's talk about that
quiet opener, really.
And Red Bull, because Kvyat doing the job. He torpedoed it a little bit, you know, in the middle of the race, but in the end kept ahead of Gasly, which was real odd, like you mentioned earlier, Cal.
Very, very solid opening weekend for Kvyat. He did a very, very solid job, and even Albon as well. He had some right little scraps as well. We were quite unsure where Toro Rosso kind of sit after pre-season testing, and as we've come into Albert Park, Kvyat, I've got to give some real plaudits to Kvyat, because not only did he do that good defending, he really good attacking, and I don't know, we've got that old Kvyat back, that fire, that Russian fire from him, that I think we've missed so dearly, and obviously he's putting his foot down to maybe, you know, if he holds up a whole Red Bull, then, you know, he's doing his job to maybe break back into the top teams, which is obviously what he wants to try and do. But yeah, a very, very solid weekend, and picking up that sole final point from Gasly means all the difference. We've got teams going for the fastest lap. Let's just get P10. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah,
very, very solid from him.
Debrief for Gasly potentially. Obviously, the weekend didn't start off great with Red Bull making the mistake of not sending him out. So I think that'll be the overriding thing for me. But it still wasn't great. They wasn't able to overtake. I felt he was trying turn 1 very weirdly. He kept on going for the move down the inside to turn 1, and I felt like he should have just stuck in on the normal racing line to get a better exit. He just never really learnt in that. Someone we missed over though, Lance Stroll. To be fair to him, gotta give it to him. A lot of people hate him, you know, call him a pay driver. He is a bit of a pay driver, obviously, but he's done a solid job today to finish ahead of Kvyat there and get points in that Racing Point car, which is still a car they're testing, really. They don't really know where it's at fully. They're, you know, going to get parts every single Grand Prix we're hearing, but I think that's a mega job for the Canadian.
To say that car is largely a 2018 car, they are doing a very, very solid job. They're picking up points in the opening round. Obviously, they did benefit from Giovinazzi and his train. So they left Stroll out, and he made up a huge amount of positions, as did Kvyat. So a good strategy call to keep him out there, because I know Perez got royally shafted by being stuck in that train. Yeah. But yeah, to say you get round 1 and they're picking up points with a largely 2018 car, and they're bringing updates to every single Grand Prix, they've got a very, very bright 2019 if they can stay on this right path.
Yeah, it should be very intriguing. Then, yeah, like you said, Perez, very quiet race. Albon, solid job, P14 debut race. We'll see how that progresses. I think the first race nerves maybe played in. Lando Norris, McLaren, Sainz with the fire. I tweeted out that Christian Horner is probably smirking at the moment as seeing Renault up in flames there in the back of the McLaren. Lando Norris had a solid job. He got unlucky, like you said, with that traffic. I think a lot of people did with that geo traffic. So I think that pretty much wraps up because there's not much to say about Williams. They were nowhere in that race. So
very much so.
Yeah, a shopping trolley could have been faster. I think they might turn up to Bahrain with a shopping trolley. So that's been your instant race reaction then to the Australian Grand Prix. Cal, final word. Just a very, very enjoyable Australian Grand Prix. I think sets up and tees up what could be a very tasty season ahead because there's a lot of things that you pick up on that could transpire to some even better racing later on in a few rounds.
2019 is going to be fun. Roll on Bahrain, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys, if you did enjoy this instant race reaction, be sure to hit that like button. If you are new around here, you can subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. Let us know what you thought about that race in the comments below. Be sure to follow both of us on Twitter. It's on the overlay right now. But till next time, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.